One of the problems in my job is constantly driving around in cars that just aren't me. You see, today's dream deal is a great example of that. I don't want anyone who sees me in it to think that the car's mine. Might seem odd. See, the car I'm driving today is fast, stylish, incredibly well made, but it just isn't me. Don't get me wrong, I love to pose in the right car, and sadly, this isn't it. This beautiful Audi A4 convertible is more for Hoorah Henrys and Sarah Janes in Kensington than for Brendan and Bob in Wigan and Bolton. It's a kind of inverted snobbery. I don't want people to think I'm in property. I want people to think I'm cool. Well, the car itself, of course, there's nothing wrong with it. It's got definite TT styling cues with low, aggressive skirts at the front and on the side, with panels that blend perfectly with the lines along the side. The side elevation, well, that's the best view of this car. Unusually for a convertible, it looks just as good with the roof up as it does with the roof down. Beautifully proportioned and sexy, it'd be a match on the catwalk for any of the topless cars in its class. Some cars are made to look aggressive, some give the impression of speed, even if they don't deliver. Well, this car just oozes sexy boutique chic. And that's the problem. I don't do sexy boutique chic. In fact, it's hard to think of a car that says overweight, slow and thick. When people see me in this car, they just think I've borrowed it from me mum or me sister. Anyway, enough of my chips on my shoulder. How does the car drive? There is an old analogy that convertible cars are like a proverbial biscuit tin, only without the lid. The lid gives the whole box rigidity. Well, the chassis of the old A4 convertible was like a plate of blancmange, only not as stiff. But Audi have been very busy in the 10 or 11 years since that previous car was launched, because this car has got 21st century technology, giving it loads of rigidity and a chassis to match the huge 220 brake horsepower engine. And that 220 brake horsepower engine is a cracker. Power comes from a 3-litre V6 30 valve engine, which gets this rather heavy beast from 0 to 60 in under 8 seconds, on to a top speed on a de-restricted autobahn, of course, of 150 miles per hour. Now, there is a less powerful 2.4-litre engine in the range, and, would you believe it, a turbo diesel version. Can you imagine driving a convertible like this that's a diesel? The world is going mad. Now, the engine note on this car isn't anywhere near as throaty as, say, the equivalent 3-litre 3 Series BMW coupe convertible, but that's a straight 6. And anyway, this car is made for cruising rather than bruising, and the drive isn't as engaging or as fun as that rear-wheel drive BMW, but the front drive on this Audi is predictably sure-footed and handles well, and it does just enough to keep a smile on your face. Now, the automatic 6-speed gearbox on this car is quite frankly remarkable. I can't detect when it's changing gear. There is a semi-automatic option if you want to actually pin it down in gears, and for hard driving that's what you should use, but for cruising around, let the gearbox do its work. It's really, I don't know, it's got an extra cog for each gear or something like that, and it's conical so that it's almost seamless changes. But the only time I can tell that it's changing gear is when my rev counter goes down. You think, oh, yeah, it changed gear then. It's incredible. Now, Audi claim that this is a genuine 4-seater, but one glance in the back tells you that that's clearly a huge pile of steaming horse manure. There's room in there for a couple of teenagers at best, but it is worth having. Just don't expect to get Joe Brand in there for anything other than a short journey. Probably the cake shop and back. The ride and suspension of this car is perfectly placed for the kind of car it is. Any harder and you wouldn't have that lovely cruisy feeling that this car gives you, and any softer and you'd be back to where the old car was. No, this car's just right for those days in the country of topless driving. And by that, I mean roof down, not, you know, with your bits out. Think you know what I mean? But back to where I started. This car just isn't as cool as, say, the BMW 3 Series convertible. And this car, cliche but true, and I'm sorry to say it, it is a bit of a ladies' car. But it is sexy, stylish, and good fun to drive. So just sit back, enjoy it, and forget what people are saying about you. I'll see you back in Chelsea. You ain't seen me, right?